Okay, so what we want to kind of build for ourselves is like a mental model, like a framework that for us to understand like what information technology is and where it fits in this um, sort of like hierarchy of human understanding. So we want to know what is information technology and where does it fit in our like shared experience as human beings. Moving this over to the other screen here. Juggling three screens is really awesome, but and thank the college for facilitating me being able to have three screens. But man, sometimes it's a pain to keep it all sorted out. Oh, my microphone's in the way. Okay. So why is that over there? Oh, there we go. So yeah, information technology is a yeah, okay, well here it is. This is what they call the DIKW model. The data is kind of like the foundation, information technology, and wisdom. And this is kind of like a sliding scale. We kind of go up and down throughout this. And each one of these things is important and relies on the ones underneath it. And presumably the goal is wisdom. But it isn't necessarily the only thing that we're interested in. What is that? There we go. Let's turn on my laser pointer here. So what is data? It's not data, it's data. Data is a plural word. The singular of data is datum. So data is a fact. Data are facts. How many steps did you take today? You know, what's your dog's birthday? What's the temperature outside? Stuff like that. They're just things that presumably are true. There's no value judgment associated with them. There's no we don't read anything into them. Like, how many steps did you take today? If you use a pedometer, and a lot of people do these days because people just freaking love data. Doesn't mean anything unless you start comparing it to like, how many steps did you take yesterday? How many steps did you take the day before? You know, you get these you start putting together like collections of data. So data in and of themselves are useless. We don't do anything with data until we start collecting it, until we start compiling it. Massive amounts of data are collected every minute in this new strange world that we live in. And not just computer data, like our minds are collecting data. Little facts and things are coming through like, oh, I feel a chill in the air, you know, things like that. I don't necessarily know how to act on that at this level, but it's information that we're taking in every second of every day. Data by itself does not inform how we should act. That's kind of the important takeaway. It's the foundation of kind of building this idea of human understanding. So we go one step up to information. And information is kind of where this class is, this level of the hierarchy is where this class is situated. This is an informational class. This is a class on information technology. So we're talking about how to process information or how to convert data into information. So basically, you take data, you put it in context, and you give it structure, and then you have information.
Excuse me, sorry to interrupt. Am I in the right class? I thought I was in.
Yes, you are, Andrew. Wait, it's good to see you, by the way. Trey, right?
Trying to figure this all out here. Yeah. This is speech and communications?
This is computer apps.
Computer apps.
You know me, Trey.
I know that, Eric. I'm just saying.
Actually, you're in section
I had a class.
Trey, you're in section 1.
I had a class at 10:30.
If you're in speech and communication, you're not actually in this section. You're in the other one. You're in the Monday, Wednesday one.
Okay, yeah. So
speech and communication will be Audrey. You're good, man. Just like, I don't know where Audrey's links are. You'll have to go to her Canvas page or something like that.
Okay. So like today, am I in the right class or no?
No, you're actually in the Monday, Wednesday section. I mean, you can stay and hang out if you want, but if you're supposed to be in another class, you should probably go find
Oh,
it.
okay. Yeah, I'll come back if I can't find my class I'm supposed to be in. I'll come back and pay attention.
All right, I'll talk to you later, man.
All right, sorry about that.
No problem, man. We got to get this is confusing. This whole thing is so odd, and we're just kind of, it's not like wandering in, it's kind of like wandering into the wrong room. When which I've done, like as an instructor, I have wandered into the wrong room and thought I was teaching the wrong, and started teaching the wrong class. I did that once. Because it was, this is the way it is. So when I go outside, or when I check the weather report and it says that it's 30 degrees outside, I know that I have to wear a coat. That's information. That's like information that we can act on. Or there's a famous educator by the name of Nicholas Henry who called information data that changes us. Data that does something to us and makes us, and changes the way we act and informs the way that we respond to the world around us. So this is the part of that hierarchy that this course is going to focus on. But we're still going to look a little higher anyway. So what is knowledge? Knowledge is that next step up. This is Stephen Hawking says, the greatest enemy of knowledge is not ignorance, it is the illusion of knowledge, thinking you know something when you don't actually know something. So call it knowledge is information that's been compiled. It's kind of like this mix of framed experience. It's incorporating your value system, like your morals and your culture. It's contextual information, like what's going on right now around you. That's important. Some expert insight, like when you just know a lot about this thing that you're doing right now. And then of course all that is grounded in kind of like a human intuition, this ability to like just know what to do. So this is the knowledge is like this ability to bring all of this stuff together and then also incorporate new experiences and information and have that like be incorporated into like your worldview. This is a quote from Tom Davenport. He says, it originates and is applied in the minds of knowers. In organizations, it often becomes embedded not only in documents and repositories, but also in organizational routines, processes, practices, and norms. And that counts for like societies and civilizations too. We have incredible amounts of knowledge that has been compiled over generations. This is what we're talking about when we go ricing, when we go like collecting wild foods and things like that, like knowing which mushrooms are safe to eat. I found a big honking sulfur shelf on a tree last week. It's a huge mushroom. It's really, really tasty. But how would I know? Like, unless someone else had that knowledge and passed it on to me, I would never know that that was an edible mushroom. We'd probably just kick it off the tree and be like, oh, what is this mushroom thing? So there are three kinds of information, explicit, tacit, and implicit. This isn't going to be on any quiz, but I think it's interesting to kind of break it down. Explicit knowledge is knowledge that has been articulated. Like we know how to cure a particular disease, something like that. That's knowledge that has been articulated. Tacit knowledge is knowledge that can't be articulated at all. So like I can look at your face and recognize you as a person that I know, but I couldn't tell you how I do that. I have no idea how I do that. Like I can't explain how I recognize a person that I know. Like I'm incapable of doing it. It's something that's like tacit. It's implicit in what I am as a person, or intrinsic to what I am as a person. And implicit knowledge is knowledge that exists but has not been articulated. Something like, there is a number of birds in the world, but we can never know what that number is. There is an exact number. There is an answer to that question. How many birds are there in the world? But we literally cannot answer the question. I mean, it could be articulated, but maybe a better example would be like, We don't yet know how to cure the coronavirus. You know, we don't. It's knowledge that maybe exists, but we have not articulated it yet. We haven't actually figured it out yet. So it's called implicit knowledge. There are many ways that knowledge is gathered and distributed. Sometimes it's like an older generation passing it on to younger generations. Sometimes it's reading something on the internet. Sometimes it's reading a book. Sometimes it's just your own experimentation and experience. Knowledge is gathered in many different ways, and we want to kind of like diversify the ways in which we get it. Some people would call knowledge just know-how, like just know-how. You know, old codgers will talk about know-how. Yeah, like how to fix a car, things like that. This is just know-how. And then there's the one step up, the final, like kind of the peak, the wisdom, and every society and civilization in the world has some theory on what wisdom actually is. In Ojibwe, it's Nibwakawin. It's the personified by the beaver, the wisest animal. So if knowledge is the result of a college degree, which I think that kind of is it, wisdom is the result of having that knowledge and framing it in life experience. So you get both knowledge and experience, that gives you wisdom. Some people call it, I don't actually have a huge discussion on this because wisdom is a really tricky concept to pin down. It's been called integrated knowledge that's integrated into a life that's lived. Information made super useful. Some people call it common sense. I like this definition of it: the ability to make sound judgments and decisions apparently without thought. And this is a really loaded sentence here, because the key word here is sound. Not just making judgments without thinking about it is something anybody can do. But making sound judgments and decisions without even having to think about it is much trickier and much more difficult to do, and requires a certain amount of like lived life experience. So that's the hierarchy. This model of human understanding, and this is where this class fits in. We're talking about information. We're talking about how information is generated, processed, and created using technology. So information is a foundational thing for higher levels of understanding. You need information in order to be able to become knowledgeable or wise. This is not a new thing. We have had information theory, and thinking about information and thinking about how we know things is something that goes back to the very beginning of human civilization, every civilization on the planet. So I would argue that we're not getting better at information because we have computers. We're just finding a new way to think about it and harness it. And so I like to look at computers as value neutral. I think they can be a useful tool, and they've certainly changed the way, but how we use them is definitely going to influence like how good they are, for humans. Like we sometimes do pretty terrible things with computers, and we sometimes do really awesome stuff. So we're working on it. So anyway, that's kind of like kind of to give us a frame of reference for how this class is going to work and where we are in the whole realm of human understanding. And I'm going to stop the recording here.